All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today we're going to be talking about making those adjustments. And now, I'm the world's worst at it. I'm typically the guy who, I'm a power fisherman. I love to power fish. If the fish do not want to chase or bite, I typically try to make them bite. So I'm one of the most stubborn jackasses you'll meet when it comes to power fishing, okay, or making adjustments. But one of the things we did today is we really worked on that. We really focused on making adjustments. We were on a crazy good, as y'all saw in the video recently, or as you'll see coming up, or recently, one of the two. I scheduled my videos out. But either way, we got on a crazy good spoon bite. And now this is 4 days afterwards. So, I could typically throw that spoon, and I did throw the spoon, but it's something that they didn't really want. So we made adjustments today, throwing flukes, throwing square bills, and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. All right, so talking about making these adjustments, here's exactly kind of a breakdown of what went on. And I'm kind of going to explain why we make these adjustments, because one of my viewers expressed to me that they have a hard time determining or, identifying, hey, I need to make this adjustment or make any kind of adjustment. It's just kind of like, and I understand exactly where he's coming from, because I've been that guy before. I've been the guy who didn't know how to identify when to make adjustments, and I was also the guy, I am the guy who has a hard time making adjustments because I'm stubborn about, how I want to fish, and I kind of want the fish to bite how I want them to bite. But that definitely wasn't one of these days. So we get to the lake, and it's, super cloudy. We got a lot of rain coming in and stuff like that. So I say a lot of rain. We had, rain coming up, and it lasted, maybe an hour? Yeah, about an hour. And, we just kind of stayed in that one area. Couldn't really film or nothing like that. Obviously, we can't get the camera equipment wet and the microphones and all that good stuff. So, we fished it with, that dart head that I was telling y'all about, that for you new viewers who may not have saw it, it's a simple dart head. It's a little small dart head, maybe an 1/8 ounce, and then the Zoom tiny fluke. And I mean, you're gonna go through them. You're definitely gonna go through them. But the main thing is, they're feeding on threadfin shad, and these threadfin shad are so small. I mean, I've got their guts all over my shirt and stuff from them spitting it up when we catch them. And we're fishing a spotted bass and largemouth fishery, and in this fishery, it is a very, very, very tough fishery. These are the shad that they're eating. This is how small. I mean, it's like ittle bitty. I mean, I don't even know if I can show you the full shad, but I mean, they're super tiny. And it's hard to mimic that. So, it's hard to find a bait under 3 inches. And, doing that with a tiny fluke and stuff, tight lining it, doing a couple pops, shaking that bait, reeling it, slowing it down, adjusting, the way I retrieve this bait constantly. 1 minute it's fast, 1 minute it's slow, 1 minute it's subtle, 1 minute it's real erratic. Just giving them something different to look at, and that goes into the genre of making those adjustments. So if I get on a bite like I did with a spoon, where I'm feeling that every 2 to 3 pops I'm getting that bite, then I can stick with that. But a lot of times that's just not how it works. I mean, I know y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You go to the lake and you wear them out on something, you go back the next time, it's like you can't get a bite, and sometimes it doesn't have a lot to do with just the bait itself, it's the presentation. So I challenge you to adjust your presentations, play with your presentations a lot. If you're typically just winding a crankbait, just a slow cadence, bumping it off of stuff, next time you go out, do that same thing. And if you're not getting bit, speed it up, slow it down, stop it, pop it, do something different, make the bait move differently, and it can trigger a lot of bites. So either way, the rain clears out, and we're like, where exactly do we need to go? And we knew we didn't really want to fish, the same areas that we always do, but at the same time, we found fish on bridges. So finding the fish on bridges, we're gonna run to the bridge. So we run to another bridge, and man, we caught some really nice fish. And we could have stayed on the bridge and worked these flutter spoons and stuff, and these flukes and all that. And that's the thing too, the two baits that we were mainly using today, one is a fluke. like you would use, you know, during the spring. If you haven't saw my fluke spring hello summer video, check that video out. We had a great time. I got to fish with a good friend of mine that I hadn't got to fish with in a long time, and I mean, we just smoked them on flukes. It's just a fun video. But this Zoom fluke, and I know you're looking at it real crazy. There's a specific way that I rigged this, and it's in one of my reels. Just you know, go to my reels on my main page and check it out. But I'll talk, it's like a 60-second video of how to rig this fluke with a treble hook. But you know, doing that and rigging this bait on that treble hook made a world of difference, okay? Because they're not used to seeing it with the treble hook. They're used to seeing it with the EWG hooks. They're used to seeing it with the round bend hooks and stuff like that. And I could tell a huge difference in my hang-up ratio. There was a couple times, especially that big largemouth that I caught, that it jumps at the trolling motor and the fish should have come off, but it didn't. Number one, I'm using the proper rod for this technique, but number two, it's just the treble hook pins them. They get it. They get it. They eat it, and it's hard for them to, you know, break loose. Now, the other bait we were catching these fish off of is the flutter spoon. Okay, so today, the day that I'm making this video, was not the greatest day to throw a flutter spoon, but at the same time, using that bait as a tool and understanding, hey, this bait is going to flutter down. It's going to go left, right, backwards, forwards, you know, diagonal, whatever. It's going to be moving real erratic. And these pillars, you know, so we're fishing these pillars, you know, it's 4 pillars, and you know, I kind of want that bait going everywhere. And same way with the fluke, you know, we're skipping that fluke up under there and popping that fluke, working it quickly, trying to pull those fish away from how close they were to the cover. But now we could have stuck to that all day. We could have fished that bridge. We could have run back to the other bridge. We could have run to the other bridge on the other end of the lake and then run all the way back. And there's another bridge at the very, 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 very far end of the lake. But we didn't. Okay, so we decided to make adjustments. We're like, hey man, you know, let's just fish this pocket and see if anything happens. Then we catch a good largemouth off of one of the same baits, a fluke. We see it come out of the grass. So, you know, we start moving around and fishing a couple pockets. We catch some more fish out of the creeks, out of the very, very backs of creeks where there's no running water in. It's just still calm. It's dog days of summer. There shouldn't be, you know, fish back there, most people think. Most people's gonna be on the main lake. But, you know, don't be afraid to make those adjustments. And understanding when to make those adjustments is key, okay? So when we made adjustments today, it wasn't based off of, you know, hey, the fish are telling us to do this. It was based off of, let's do something different. And that's where you really pick up and start learning stuff. But either way, let's go into the wind scenarios. When are we going to adjust? So, you know, let's say you look at the weather, right? I'm just going to give you a scenario. Let's just say you look at the weather and you've got a mostly sunny day, no wind, okay? The water's clean, clear water, whatever lake you fish, whatever clean, clear means to you on the lake that you fish. And you know, you get out there and you're trying to power fish, okay? So you're throwing square bills, you're throwing deep diving crankbaits, you're throwing top waters and stuff like that, and nothing's really happening. That should automatically tell you, especially if you're not getting a follow, if you're not just seeing fish anywhere, including your graph or chasing or anything, that automatically tells you you need to make an adjustment. Now, what do I look for when I need to make an adjustment? Let's say I'm fishing main lake points and I'm not seeing anything on the point itself, and I'm talking about from where the point starts at the base all the way out to the middle, to where it stops in the middle of the lake, and I'm not seeing any fish up there. Try rotating around the edges of those points, okay? All right, so, you know, like right here, let's talk about this. We've got a point that comes out right here, right? So this is a point on my contour. This right here is the main channel where it kind of looks flat, okay? Then we got these sharp contours going all the way down into the channel. Now, if you look right here on my trail, see this little circle? Okay, I'm sitting right there on that drop off. This line that's going right through here, I'm staying right on the edge of that drop off, throwing my bait up here and then bringing it off. So, you know, right here too, like where this line is, I caught tons of fish sitting right here in the main channel, casting up this way. Those fish were sitting right here in that little area right on that drop off. So, you know, typically people are fishing these main lake points right on the ends of the points, right on the, you know, right on the sides, and then they're getting up and leaving if they're not catching anything. Check the ends, the sides, you know, where it comes into a cove, or you know, where it comes right off into the main channel and stuff like that. And typically, you know, you're going to find fish somewhere on that point. And sometimes it's fish that hasn't really been targeted that much during the summer. These fish that live out here are the ones who's typically getting beat up. So, you know, focusing on those off areas, try to think outside of the box. You know, where are most people fishing? And that doesn't mean like, if you go to fish the middle of the point or the ends of the points and stuff like that, you're not going to catch fish. It just means, you know, a lot of times your better fish who hasn't really been targeted that much, whether it's your bigger fish or whether it's just a lot of fish, okay, they're going to be in those off areas. They're just easier to catch. You know, downsizing your baits, upsizing your baits. Just play around with stuff, okay? You know, try to, like I said, just try to think outside the box. Understanding those adjustments can help you tons. Now, if you get there and it's super sunny and all that stuff and it's dead calm, maybe in the middle of the day the wind starts blowing like crazy, then swap to your power presentations where you can move and cover a lot more water. So, you know, maybe it gets cloudy and windy, right? You know, swap to those power presentations. Maybe it's just windy, maybe it's just cloudy. You know, swap up the stuff. That will tell you, you know, hey, I need to be, you know, focusing on my power presentations when it's windy. I need to be focusing on, you know, my finesse techniques when it's, you know, bright outside, it's dead, still calm. Do I need to sit on top of the fish? Do I need to sit off of the fish? Typically, you want to sit further off of the fish than you do on top of the fish, okay? But now that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, especially during the summer. They're typically fishing, they're sitting on top of the fish, throwing at the bank, okay? Move out, move further out. If you have to, use heavier lures, that way you can make longer casts, okay? I've noticed so much, I see a lot of people do this. They will, you know, be winding something, and then, you know, the fish will follow their bait up to the boat, and then, you know, the fish, they'll just scatter. They see the boat, and I don't know if they just like, hey, you know, I know what's up, something's going on, something's off, but, you know, they typically shut down. But either way, before we get in further into the video, I do want to say I'm working with Thunderhawk lures now, guys. If you want to get your hands on some real good lures, some real good rods, they make a rod, it's called the Taku rod. I fell in love with this rod. I put this rod through the ringer. It's a carbon rod. It's expensive. It's $279, okay? It's a super nice rod. It's a super lightweight rod. It's a super durable rod. It's a great rod. If you're in the market for a higher end rod, check out Thunderhawk lures. And, you know, like I said, they've got all kinds of cool stuff, from their A10 square bills, their Sergeant lipless crankbaits. They've got great jerk baits. They've got all different kinds of stuff. The glide baits, whatever you like to fish with, Thunderhawk has got it covered, man. Go on there. I highly suggest getting some A10 square bills. I highly suggest getting some Sergeant lipless crankbaits. If you're in the market for, you know, a new rod, a higher end rod, check out the Taku rod. All different kinds of sizes, action, stuff like that. I got the 7'3" medium heavy. I love this rod. It's all purpose rod. You can use it for jigs, you know, hair jigs, whatever you want to use it for. I've been using it for swim baits a lot also. But either way, put in Posey20 at checkout. You'll get 20% off, and it helps me out a whole lot. It's one way you can help support the channel and support those guys over there. They catch fish, not fishermen, okay? So, with that being said, I challenge you guys to do this. This has helped me out more than anything. Get you a sheet of paper. You can use your phone or whatever. And what I do, I write 3 top water lures, I write 3 suspended lures, 3 bottom lures, and then 3 finesse lures. That way, if I get in that moment where I'm just flustered, okay, I'm just all over the place, and don't really know what to do, I've got 3 baits that covers all areas that I can fish. I can just pick this paper up, look at it, settle down, because, you know, sometimes our minds get racing and stuff like that. You just kind of freaking out or whatever. Maybe you're just tired and don't want to be out there. Write it down on a sheet of paper. I keep it in the cup holder in my boat. That way, if I start getting flustered, I can pick this up and say, okay, I'm throwing a jig, and I'm just going to stick with the jig, okay, until something happens. But looking for fish to follow your baits, okay? If you know you're not seeing fish follow your baits or something like that, you're doing something wrong. Adjust your areas, adjust your presentation, keep playing around with stuff, and it takes time. That's the thing, it takes time. Okay, sometimes you can make that quick switch. Maybe you're throwing a black and blue jig and they're following it. Then you're like, okay, I'm gonna throw a green pumpkin. You throw a green pumpkin on, and then they start whacking it. Okay, sometimes it happens that quick, but most of the time it doesn't. Especially for guys like me, most of y'all, I'm sure it does not happen all the time. That light switch doesn't just flick right then. So, you know, making small adjustments, whether it's color, 99% of the time it's going to be presentation, or a simple bait switch. Okay, so pay attention to the areas that you're seeing fish. Are they heavily pressured areas, or are there areas around that I can look for drop-offs on the edge of points, or little pockets that go up in there? I haven't really saw anybody go up in these pockets. Okay, I'm gonna check out these pockets with a fluke or something I can cover a lot of water with, hit the high percentage areas, you know, lay downs, grass, anything like that, anything that's off. You know, maybe it's a grass area. Stay away from those areas where it's just solid grass all the way down. There's nothing there. It's just solid grass. There's nothing different. Okay, if you're gonna fish it, cover it quickly, cover it efficiently. But maybe that grass, there's a point that comes out on that grass. Fish that point. Okay, fish that high percentage area. Use baits as you know, the right tool. That's the key thing. Is it the right tool? You know, if I got a point that comes out, but on top of that point, it's only 1.5 feet deep and there's nothing moving around it, and that point comes out and drops off to 10 foot, you know, I want to throw a jig or something like that that's going to, you know, come off of that and drop down to the bottom. Think of your baits as tools. Is this the right tool for what I'm trying to use it for? If I'm fishing docks, I mean, I don't want to throw, I'm not necessarily going to throw a, you know, square bill crankbait or a, you know, a 6XD right around every single dock, right? Okay, if I throw a 6XD around the dock, I'm probably not going to get bit. I'm not going to say you ain't going to get bit. I've saw some weird stuff in fishing, but, you know, 6XD, if I'm throwing a 6XD around the dock and it's over 10 foot of water, I'm probably not going to get bit, okay? But now, if I'm throwing a wacky rig worm, okay, there's no wind. I'm throwing a wacky rig worm, maybe there is wind, okay? I want to throw a spinnerbait or something like that. Something I can use that's the right tool that I can fill those bites and give them a certain presentation. Are they feeding on shad? Are they feeding on crawfish? What kind of shad are they feeding on? What color crawfish are they feeding on? Pay attention to those little key details. I guarantee you'll catch more fish. Guys, if the video helps you, make sure to like, hit that subscribe button. Make sure the notification bell's on, because I'm always dropping cool content, all different kinds of reels. Every Tuesday and Friday, videos at 10 a.m. Also, if you have any questions or you just want to talk fishing, drop a comment down below. Don't forget, go over to Thunderhawk Lures. Get you some cool stuff. They've got just about everything you can imagine. Put in Posey 20 at checkout. It helps me out a whole lot. Guys, I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.